Technology the way you like it. This is Technology Today. Welcome, everybody, to Technology Today, episode number 24. I'm your host, David Herzog, and I've got some stories from the world of technology, and I'm going to talk about social engineering, what it is, and how to avoid it. So without any further delay, let's get started. Well, hello everybody. What's going on? It's David Herzog. We're live here on YouTube. 3/24/20 Tuesday, 10:30 here in the morning, right about where I am. Hopefully, everybody is well and everybody is, self-isolating and have plenty of food and you're paying all your bills and everything you need to do to keep yourself alive. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get to the first story that I've got here for you all today. The virus and podcasting. The coronavirus is working its way through the economy. I'm talking about the real economy, not the stock market, even affecting CRM. At this point, some vendors are canceling events rather than taking the risk of having thousands of customers, press, and analysts descend on a city, swap microbes through the air for a few days, then go home and likely further spread the microbes, some of which could be the virus. It's a simple epidemiology. Get that word, get that big word out. But beyond that aspect, one can't help but wonder what the longer-term impact might be on the tech world and beyond. It's highly likely there will be some lasting impacts from the coronavirus outbreak. If history is a guide, it could enable new technologies and change how we communicate. I believe it's already doing that. And to find a useful scenario as a guide, let's go back 20 years to the turn of the century and the dot-com bust. Back then, the podcast industry was highly leveraged through venture capital. Initially, vendors were spending lavishly on thousands of physical goods like t-shirts. When the music stopped and the VCs turned off the money spigot, economy became the order of the day. Vendors then had been spending a fortune on travel to sit down in person with analysts, reduce their costs by adopting newfangled technology that enabled them to hold video conference calls. Just like that, the analyst tour was scrapped in favor of video briefings that could be done anytime. It saved a bundle of venture capital and probably helped a few companies to persevere. It also changed how we work and launched a small industry of companies that could supply the services. Today, we have a travel slowdown and the same market forces are in play. The difference is that now our efforts aren't aimed at saving money but at staying healthy. Over the last few days, some technology vendors, including some in the CRM space, have begun canceling events that were to be held in March. These are hard cancellations too, because you need to rent a building a year or more in advance, so rescheduling is a problem. Someone else has the space reserved later. They might cancel too, and you don't want that slot either. What you do if you're a vendor in this situation is not give up. You have information to bestow on the world that's timely and educational, and you can't expect customers to buy your latest whiz-bang without some prodding and education. Back in the day, when travel was curtailed, vendors got smart and found out order of magnitude better and less expensive ways to communicate through conferencing. Were conferences as good as a live meeting? Probably not, but we still have meetings. However, conference calls became an effective way of getting a message from one person to another or a small group, and we found that we sometimes could make up with the frequency we once did with his presence. And this is what's going on. Right now, there's a lot of video conferencing going on, a lot of social media. As you see, me here talking to you all here, and this may become what might be known as the new normal. I'm not saying it could be the new normal, but you never know. Well, with that being said, uh, the next tech news I have here for you all today is what's in the latest Firefox upgrade, Firefox 74, and add-on side loading. Mozilla on Tuesday shipped Firefox 74. Wait, didn't we just get a new Firefox a minute or two ago? It may feel that way. Firefox 74, just 4 weeks after its predecessor, continuing the faster release cadence promised last year. The refresh browser dropped support for the non-absolute TLS 1.0 and 1.1 cryptographic protocols, blocked all add-on sideloading except the allowed by enterprise managed group policy, and enabled support for a header element designed to safeguard against attacks based on the Meltdown and Spectre hardware-based vulnerabilities first revealed 2 years ago. Mozilla security engineers also patched a dozen vulnerabilities, half of them labeled high. Mozilla's second most serious threat label, as usual. Some of the flaws might be used by criminals. We presume that will be enough effort. Some of these could have been exploited to run arbitrary code. The firm wrote of 2 of the bugs. 2 others were discovered and reported by members of Google's Project Zero, the search company's team of researchers who root out unpatched flaws in Google and non-Google software. Firefox 74 can be downloaded for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux from Mozilla's site. Because Firefox updates in the background, most users can simply relaunch the browser to get the latest version. To manually update on Windows, pull up the menu under the 3 horizontal bars at the upper right, then click the help icon, the question mark within circle. Choose About Firefox. On Mac OS, About Firefox can be found under Firefox menu. The resulting page shows that the browser is either up to date or describes the refresh process. This was the first version of Firefox to be released 4 weeks after its predecessor. Mozilla last upgraded the browser on February 11th. In September 2019, the company announced it would pick up the development and release pace for shortening the internet interval between upgrades from 6 weeks to 5, then to 4. So it's really good that Firefox is keeping up on the update of their browser and everything, because we all really need that. Those who are using Firefox on the or who are using Firefox for the browser. I know a lot of people. Not everybody uses Firefox, but I know I do. All right, and we are here. The last of the tech news here. Microsoft starts to beat Windows 10 2004 drum for businesses. The company is testing several enterprise-friendly features likely to be in the upcoming Windows 10 update, but it hasn't committed to a release date. Microsoft must be getting this close to delivering the latest Windows 10 upgrade. Last week, the company began what will likely be a long-running pitch of 2004, the 4-digit label to enterprises. Joe Lurie, a Microsoft senior product and marketing manager, kicked off the drumbeat in a March 10 post to a company blog. Here's an early peek at the great commercial features coming later this year. Larry wrote, implying but not outright declaring that what he plumped would be contained in Windows 10 2000 2004, 2004. I said 2004, 2004. It's coming in April. Hopefully, In the post, Lurie casts his list of enterprise features as currently accessible only via Windows Insider, specifically overlooked, the often overlooked Windows Insider for Business, the preview program spinoff Microsoft maintains. Lurie touted several new commercial-grade features coming to Windows 10 in version 2004. Computer, okay, and Computer World will focus on the ones most likely to make a difference in the enterprise. Okay, one of those features is a cloud download to reset Windows. We've added the option to recover Windows 10 by downloading the necessary files from the cloud, resulting in increased reliability and, depending on your internet speed, a faster recovery, wrote Lurie. Earlier versions relied on existing local files to rebuild Windows when the Reset This PC option was triggered. With 2004, customers can instead download the same build version and edit currently installed user or management installed apps. Must be reinstalled as it does user data if the maximalist remove everything selection setting is selected. Using a cloud download makes the option unattractive to those without high-speed connections. The download will weigh in at almost 3 gigs, which, if you do have a lower internet download speed, it's 3 gigs. It's going to take a while to download the 3 gig file. Less downtime, more efficient use of the network during feature upgrades. With Windows 10 version 2004, offline time continues to decrease from a median time of over 80 minutes in version 1703 to less than 20 minutes in version 2004, Lurie said. More of the upgrade process has been shifted to the background, and Microsoft pursued since early 2017 as it prepped and then launched Windows 10 1703. User needed now actions have been pared even further, and reboots, Lurie claimed, have been eliminated in some cases. Also, on the 2004 slate related to upgrading, and for that matter updating as well, is a toolset designed to make more efficient use of network resources while downloading installation packages. For the overarching delivery optimization service, which shares the download burden among multiple devices, users can now set absolute values for throttling rather than as a percentage from settings. Currently, this throttling can be done only at the admin level via group or mobile device management policies. Lurie also signaled that a cloud-based delivery optimization service will be available, likely of interest only to larger customers that will detect download storms on your network, then curtail from cloud downloads in favor of using local sources, including clients that have already grabbed the upgrade or update. Also, the service would dynamically choose which devices can download updates first, so that some say those piloting a future upgrade are served before the masses. Okay, and here's a special note. This client feature requires a cloud service support, which will be available in the near future for full functionality, Lurie added. WDAG the dog, or I think that's supposed to be a wag the dog. Application Guard helps protect users and devices from old and newly emerging threats using containers to open files received from untrusted or potentially unsafe locations, Lurie contended. Windows Defender Application Guard, WDAG, which debuted as a protection on the original Edge HTML version of the Edge browser, isolates IT-defined sites to protect employees from potential attack. The Chromium-based Edge has support WDAG since August has supported WDAG since August 2019 as a beta feature. The technology requires Windows 10 Pro or Windows 10 Enterprise. Windows 10 2004 will allow Edge extensions to run in a WDAG container. We also pointed out that when policies are enabled in 2004, WDAG gets switched on as soon as an Office 365 Pro Plus client opens a document. This requires a Microsoft 365 E5 or Microsoft 365 Security E5 license. Yeah, isn't that interesting? New things coming down the road from Microsoft. Should be pretty interesting. And let's see what I got here. And the last one here that I've got here, what we're going to do here is get to the last part of our podcast here. Okay, and with that little introduction there, we're going to talk about social media, what it is, and how you can avoid it. Social media. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna say social engineering. Boy, my mind is just not quite awake today. Social engineering is an attack vector that relies heavily on human interaction and often involves manipulating people into breaking normal security procedures and best practices in order to gain access to systems, networks, or physical locations, or for financial gain. Threat actors use social engineering techniques to conceal their true identities and motives and present themselves as a trusted individual or information source. The objective is to influence, manipulate, or trick users into giving up privileged information or access within an organization. Many social engineering exploits simply rely on people's willingness to be helpful. For example, the attacker might pretend to be a coworker who has some kind of urgent problem that requires access to additional network resources. Social engineering is a popular tactic among hackers because it is often easier to exploit users' weaknesses than it is to find a network or software vulnerability. Hackers will often use social engineering tactics as a first step in a larger campaign to infiltrate a system or network and steal sensitive data or disperse malware. And here's a little bit of how social engineering works. Social engineers use a wide variety of tactics to perform attacks. The first step in most social engineering attacks is the attacker to perform research and reconnaissance on the target. If the target is an enterprise, for instance, the hacker may gather intelligence on the employee structure, internal operations, common lingo used within the industry, and possible business partners, among other information. One common tactic of social engineering is to focus on the behaviors and patterns of employees with low-level but initial access, such as a security guard or a receptionist. Hackers can scan the person's social media profiles for information and study their behavior online and in person. From there, the hacker can design an attack based on the information collected and exploit the weakness uncovered during the reconnaissance phase. If the attack is successful, hackers have access to sensitive data such as credit card or banking information, have made money off the targets, or have gained access to protected systems or networks. And here briefly we're going to talk about some types of social engineering. that I don't know if everybody knew about, or maybe some people do, but maybe a lot of people don't. Well, here I go. Popular types of social engineering attacks include baiting. Baiting is when an attacker leaves a malware-infected physical device, such as a USB flash drive, in a place it is sure to be found. The finder then picks up the device and loads it onto his or her computer, unintentionally installing the malware. That's like somebody finding a flash drive in a parking lot of their place of work and picking it up and going in and plugging it into their job and plugging it into their computer. That's what baiting is. So take a little drink of water there. All right, the next one is phishing. Phishing is when a malicious party sends a fraudulent email disguised as a legitimate email, often purporting to be from a trusted source. The message is meant to trick the recipient into sharing personal or financial information or clicking on a link that installs malware. Spear phishing. Spear phishing is like phishing but tailored for a specific individual or organization. Vishing. Vishing is also known as voice phishing, and it's the use of social engineering over the phone to gather personal and financial information from the target. Pretexting. Pretexting is when one party lies to another to gain access to privileged data. For example, a pretexting scam could involve an attacker who pretends to need personal or financial data in order to confirm the identity of the recipient. Scareware. Scareware involves tricking the victim into thinking his computer is infected with malware or has inadvertently downloaded illegal content. The attacker then offers the victim a solution that will fix the bogus problem. In reality, the victim is simply tricked into downloading and storing the attacker's malware. Water holing. A water hole attack is when the attacker attempts to compromise a specific group of people by infecting websites they are known to visit and trust in order to gain access. Quid pro quo. Oh, I don't think I read it. I don't think I read the previous one. Okay. Diversion theft. In this type of attack, the social engineers trick a delivery or courier company into going to the wrong pickup or drop-off location, thus intercepting the transaction. Quid pro quo. A quid pro quo attack is one in which the social engineer pretends to provide something in exchange for the target's information or assistance. For instance, a hacker calls a selection of random numbers within an organization and pretends to be calling back from tech support. Eventually, the hacker will find someone with a legitimate tech issue who they will then pretend to help. Through this, the hacker can have the target type in the commands to launch malware or can collect password information. Honey trap, an attack in which the social engineer pretends to be an attractive person to interact with a person online, fake an online relationship, and gather sensitive information through that relationship. Tailgating. Tailgating, sometimes called piggybacking, is when a hacker walks into a secured building by following someone with an authorized access card. This attack presumes the person with legitimate access to the building is courteous enough to hold the door open for the person behind them, assuming they are allowed to be there. Rogue. Rogue security software is a type of malware that tricks targets into paying for the fake removal of malware. So there's a lot of types of social engineering there. I just mentioned briefly a few of them, and that's why we really have to be careful. I get numbers all the time. I call on my phone, and I put them into Google, and Google usually says they're like a scam. So you never can be too sure. You know. And I'm gonna take a brief little break here, and I'll be right back for the for the final segment of the podcast here. So I'll be back real soon. All right, everybody, I'm back. Sorry about that little brief intermission there, but I had to take care of some things and do some things. Well, anyway, in the final segment of the social engineering part of this topic of social engineering on our podcast, the podcast here, here's some tips on preventing social engineering. And it says security experts recommend that IT departments regularly carry out penetration testing that uses social engineering techniques. This will help administrators learn which types of users pose the most risk for specific types of attacks, while also identifying which employees require additional training. Security awareness training can also go a long way toward preventing social engineering attacks. If people know what forms social engineering attacks are likely to take, they will be less likely to become victims. On a smaller scale, organizations should have secure email and web gateways that scan emails for malicious links and filter them out, thus reducing the likelihood that a staff member will click on one. Staying up to date with software and firmware patches on endpoints is also important, and is keeping track of staff members who handle sensitive information and enabling advanced authentication measures for them. And this can not only happen in a business, but it could also happen, in a it could also happen in a person's home as well too. And so you really have to be careful, and watch, who you provide information to on the phone. As I say, don't provide any sensitive financial information like social security numbers or checking account numbers or credit card numbers to anyone that you do not know. And with that being said, I believe we're coming to the end here of the podcast here. So if you are curious and you would like to find out information about me, you can find that information. You can find that information on. You can find that information on homepages.uc.edu/the tilde key Herzog DL, or you can listen to this podcast on Spreaker.com in the technology section of their webpage, and on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Play, and soon, and you can be watching this on YouTube as well too. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening and watching today, and I'll be talking at you soon. Goodbye until next time.